everybody. This is Richie from the Metal Cell podcast. First of all, I want to give a shout out to our main sponsors, Rising Suns, the award-winning brewery in Cork. Be sure to call in and have a beer if you're in Cork. I am delighted to welcome Grey Stag to the house. I have Matt, Steve and Daragh, lads. Pleasure to have you again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Richie.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.
Great. And Danielle, welcome, as usual.
Thanks.
To one of your favourite moments.
Yeah,
the Stag are in the house.
Yeah, I was delighted when I got the message from you saying, "Are you up for the Grey Stag interview?" I was like, "Yes, 100%."
Absolutely. So, lads, you thankfully gave myself and Danielle a heads up on the album. And do you want to start with it, Danielle? Just try and sum it into 5 words.
Oh, Jesus.
Impossible, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what? I was quite surprised with the album in a positive way. Like, I was expecting just non-stop theft, and I was pleasantly surprised that there was really nice interludes in there. There was a bit of breathing, and I thought it was you really seen like the maturity from your previous records coming along, and I thought it was brilliant just to hear like the intro and the outro was really class.
I think they've got mature. I think.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Look at that.
Not being individually, but as a band.
Yeah,
they've got mature.
Definitely not individually.
Yeah.
But I'd like to comment on the intro, because I know in previous interviews you've always said, Danielle, that's straight in, no kissing. But we did want quite a bit of foreplay in this.
Yeah. And you know, it really added to it, you know, because I know before I like that as well, but sometimes it's nice to kind of just gently, and then all of a sudden you're just like, yeah. It's nice.
It's fantastic, lads. We'll get into it in detail later, as we're going to do a track by track for those that are just after tuning in. But more importantly, it is out on the 17th of March, which of course is Patrick's Day. Was that planned?
It was kind of, yeah. We were thinking, well, no, it wasn't really planned. We were more looking to book the gig tour, and that kind of happened around the end of March. And we're like, oh, you need to kind of release on a Friday, you know, it's the standard release day. We're like, if we release it then, the people in Belfast won't have a chance to hear it.
Okay.
So we're like, oh, it's Paddy's Day then. Maybe we lean into it, and just everyone's going to be off anyway. Listen to a bit of Grey Stag.
Yeah. And let's throw your mind back to the Siege when we saw them there, Danielle. There was no one getting past us at the front there, in fairness. We did a good lot of body checking there, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies. I was really at my peak at that stage when you were playing. Yeah, Jesus, it was class. The heft was unreal.
Yeah,
unreal.
It was fantastic. Maybe Daragh, you could talk about the planning of the set list for that.
Planning a set list for the Siege one, we wanted to go pretty heavy. I think the one before that, it was Elephantry, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And they're slightly more kind of melodic. So this one we really want to go kind of full force with.
And how many album tracks were on the set list? Was it around 3 or 4 at least?
We played one I think that people would have heard before as well. C's, 4 altogether. Would have been 4 from that, yeah. And then as well, we snuck in our first. Yeah, that was the first time we played the cover. We were working on that. Working on Emerald for a while as a nice little Siege treat.
Oh my God, I forgot that.
Yeah.
Jesus, yes, that's right. Fuck's sake.
I think that was the first gig where we really hit our flow with Daragh and the band. I think just from getting a few live gigs under our belts, where we started to feel like you didn't have to look at each other. Like we sort of felt it a lot tighter on stage.
That was the third, fourth.
Yeah, well, we had a bunch on the cards that got cancelled, but
unfortunately,
that's right. Yeah. But when was your debut gig actually, Daragh? Was it
March?
In Cork, no?
It was in Cork. It was March, early March, I think. Yeah.
Your second home.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it definitely felt at the Siege that you were like, you know, connected, and I think there was definitely a confidence in you, Daragh. I could see it like from behind the kit. It was radiating out anyway into the crowd.
We had so much practice, and it was only the third gig, which is kind of crazy because we were practicing for around a year before that.
Yeah.
Before a year.
Paid off anyway.
And the the gig then, was it your last gig now? Was the fundraiser? Was it, Daragh, for your dad?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and how did that go?
Yeah, no, it was really good. It was a brilliant gig. Fort Norton Tombs and Black Shuck, and it really kicked a lot of ass. It was a brilliant gig and tons of people there. We raised $2,000 for Breakthroughs Cancer Research. Going really, really well.
So you had then in the background the build up to the video to Steadfast Leviathan, and that was Cosmo Palace. There has to be stories about the video.
None. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Come on, for fuck's sake. You're amongst friends here.
It was well, so I moved back to Wicklow, and we're just from driving around seeing this place, like that would be an amazing spot to do a video. Of course, like halfway up a mountain, dragging all of the gear, and that wasn't even bad. It was Angel was saying that I can get this lovely like light generator and it'll be fine. It's like new, and then he arrives with this big hunk of a thing, takes up his entire boot, and it's like, yeah, they didn't have it in stock. So it's like 4 of us holding on the corners, shuffling it up,
taking breaks.
And this was when
When was this?
Early December, wasn't it?
Oh, Jesus.
8 in the morning, the 3rd of December, when it was like, I think 3 or 4 degrees.
Yeah.
And then they had to do all fucking go all rock star on us then after slogging the whole thing up.
Well, remember we were trying to get it back down for like, I think we were so tired and exhausted, like the idea popped into our heads, like, what if we like lay it on the sand and try and push it down?
No.
It's not gonna work. Jesus Christ.
I was doing maths in my head. I think it would have been cheaper and easier to just buy new gear.
Yeah.
And just leave it all up there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then shout out to my little brother Tiernan, because I said, oh, you come and help out and you might get in the video. That didn't work. So, but he helped carry the stuff.
He did. Yeah.
You got to
Saving
show
the
it.
trip to the gym.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just, I can't believe it's only looking back seeing Daragh go top. It's just like, Jesus Christ, how'd you do it?
But
A lot of energy drinks and pumping up.
I do remember how cold it was, and you asking us, Daragh asked us, should I go topless for this? And I it was freezing cold, and I was looking around and I said, Daragh, yes. Remember, you got 5 hours of this.
One consistency over and over again.
Jesus.
Is that how long you were
fun
filming
edit
for?
of just slowly putting on more clothes as the video goes on.
Put on a sock and then
And the amount of, I suppose, footage that got wasted, because it's not like it's just public land where there's a lot of hikers.
Yeah.
Like there's one really good shot that Daragh got where he's done the walkaway scenes at the end and he throws back his sticks and it hits the kit in a cool way. But you just see like this hiker like come up out of nowhere.
Oh,
You see what's going on.
we need a blooper reel.
Yeah, actually, should ask him for a blooper reel. I'm sure he has one.
Yeah.
But great video. Like it came out really, really cool.
Yeah. And there's nothing worse. I fucking hate seeing bands that are in these beautiful locations and you know that their fucking guitars aren't plugged in. At least you went to the trouble of fucking plugging the lead into the gear.
I said exactly, like even on that 1 or 2 scenes where I'm on the rock, it's like I still need the lead and I'll just put it down the other side of the rock, but the lead needs to be there. I can't play without the lead.
Fucking bugs the shit out of me when bands do that. Like,
Yeah. I say green screen next time. But shout out to Angel, like Cosmo Palace, because that was a really easy to work with, and the result, and so quick. He's so quick.
Yeah.
So professional with it. So yeah, really happy with how that turned out.
It did turn out fantastic, in fairness, and it was brilliant seeing you up in the mountain. Like, I mean, the whole idea of the album Call of the Mountain, you might talk to us about. Was there much discussion over that, and how did it relate to the artwork? When did you decide on what came first?
Did Colin have the name of the album before he started working? I don't think he did. Did he?
He did team or something.
We might have sent, that might have come a bit after we sent them. I think the tracks have been ready since like late May, maybe early, and then they got mastered during the summer.
Okay.
And we started talking to Colin, I think, around the end of summer. And we didn't really have we were thinking of the album title for ages. And I was just listening to it, and I think it's the first line in Steadfast Leviathan. I hear the Call of the Mountain. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, actually. And it fits everything.
Yeah.
And that was, we all just agreed, that's what it should be called.
Yeah,
and then as for the artwork, it was we really liked what he did with the boats, and we said that, but more.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting because with the name of the album, we kept saying let's push it on. Like when we were recording, we were like, we don't have an album. It was called Untitled Grey Stag album #1 for quite a long time. And we kept saying we better actually get a name for this. And you were like, let's just go with Call of the Mountain. First line in Steadfast of Eisen. I like that. But it was afterwards I was thinking about the fact that you moved to Auckram. I've been trying to buy in Wicklow. So like there's this extra thing of like, I don't know, the call of the mountain, like coming back to the Wicklow.
You're short as fucking Grizzly Adams to be walking around now in the background.
We're 100% Wicklow band at the moment, so you know.
True.
Oh fuck it, is that true? Yeah.
Yeah.
We all crawled out of the Blessington Lake.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Daragh only lived like, he's in the main town near the village we grew up in. Our village, me and Matt grew up in Hollywood, and he was about 10 minutes down the road in Blessington, and we only, I suppose, we've definitely bumped into you before, I think, but only really met you and become friends with you since we started in Grey Stag playing with Svetkant.
I've been stalking you for several years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to go back to this artwork again. It's absolutely fantastic, both front and back. And the CD itself then, again, beautiful. And it just goes to show as well that you needn't have to be fucking vinyl to represent some decent artwork.
That dig in there now, Richie.
Yeah, of course. And of course, a nice free sticker as well, courtesy of Mairead.
Yeah.
No, big shout out to Colin for the artwork on that, for sure. He really went above and beyond, especially with the extra sigils for the inside sleeves and everything. Yeah. Really happy with that.
Yeah. Have you got some cool merch planned now for?
We have some different merch. We tried to do something a bit different.
Okay.
So with that, it'll be first. Not going to share anything yet. We're going to sell it at the gigs first. So if anyone wants it, do have to come to the gigs, and then whatever else is left over, just like we did with Siege, and that went really well. Like those latest T-shirts from Mairead.
Yes.
Like we sold, I think, more than half of them. We got loads of them as well, and we sold more than half of them at Siege. So I think we only got like 10 or so left or something. It was really well received.
Yeah, that's another thing about you as a band. Your merch range is always fantastic.
It is. Yeah. Your trucker hat is class.
Yeah.
He wears that like all the time. It's a bit like you, Richie, with his hat now.
Yeah. People are convinced I'm bald actually underneath the hat. I fucking tell you. It's a fucking gimmick. It's a prop, okay? So you did also use Kelvin for the new logo, which is again on this. Why did you decide to change the logo?
I suppose we've had Colin did that original one that's on that t-shirt you're wearing there, Richie, and I suppose never really put much thought into it before, but we just wanted kind of, I don't know, not rebrand, just something that was more, I suppose, unique to us, because I think Colin just like picked a font and it worked really well, but we just wanted something that was, I don't know, more us and evolving as we were.
Maturing,
exactly.
Yeah.
More mature logo.
Yeah.
And it's great, because like we do like to share the love around all Irish.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
It's so hard to pick a favourite. Like it changes every time you see a different piece of artwork.
Yeah,
such talent here that we'd like to use as much of it as we can.
Yeah, and you know what? It's getting to me now, Danielle, as well. The more it's worse than the vinyl now is the fucking AI art.
Oh,
yeah.
Really getting and I'm just fucking, I mean, you can do amazing things, but lads, fuck off. Use Irish artists. There's plenty of them there. Jesus Christ. You know. But look, I know there's budget constraints as well, and especially for solo artists. Not having to dig at anybody, but it's nuts what AI can do, and it's only going to get worse, and soon there'll be fucking AI bands appearing, replicating everything. Like,
Yellow Stag.
Yellow Stag.
Oh, very human.
As soon as I can replace these two with an AI,
I can't drop this.
And just one other thing, you got money out of the Arts Council.
I was going to say that about the using Irish artists thing, because I think that was a big part of that application, was the fact that obviously might shock you, but we don't make a ton of money with the band. But a lot of the time, if we do get money in the kitty, I mean, every time we get money in the kitty, it's gone towards getting a new logo or a new bit of merch print, like getting it either printed or getting it designed. And I think that was, so in the application, it was easy to say that not only are we making this album, but when we make this album, it's going to be the impetus for doing more t-shirt designs, paying for the artwork for the album itself. Like the more of those designs that we sell, the more we can get designed and printed, etc. So like it's part of the sort of circular economy of it all. So even if we can't get paid, artists can. So I think that's an important piece. But yeah, the money from the Arts Council was a huge help, because we would not have had the budget to do what we did. We didn't have to make any compromises at all with the album, which is good, because we would have recorded the album one way or another. It's been on the cards for a long while, and we've been working on it pretty much. You started working on that since before we were recording the boats.
Wow.
But it's been a long time building up, and like a lot of bands, the lockdown sort of forced us to change what we were doing. We put a lot of time then into demoing, writing the songs, making the songs. Like there's a lot more effort and work put into each song and arrangement than we had in any of the previous work. And as a result of that, I think everything came together. It was the right time for us as a band, because we'd shown that we've done a few things in the past.
Yeah.
And then the funding itself, the application sort of came up while we were on the way to Bloodstock. Okay. So when we came home and we were isolating, because Gash was the drummer at the time, he had been a close contact, so we were all isolating. So I took the time while I was at home to spend about 18 hours a day just piling in an application for it. Got it done in the 4 days between coming home from Bloodstock and the deadline, and then forgot about it until December that year. So thinking about it the whole time, but when we got the news, I had to ring Steve. I was in work. I got the email. I read it. It's like, congratulations.
Reread it.
Say you've been awarded the money. And I had to send it to Steve and say, here, look, I'm being an idiot. I'm reading this completely wrong. This is telling us we've gotten the money. And like, if anything, they're going to be asking us to pay them for having made them up to the application. You know?
I just thought that someone had scammed them or something, but no.
No, that was it, yeah. So like immediately, that was the 6th of December, wasn't it? 6th of December, something like that.
I remember you saying that like, when you applied, that would have been end of August, start of September.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, because Matt knows all the systems, that the deadline for getting or telling you have the money is the 6th of December. So the longer it takes for them to tell you don't have it, the better chance you have of getting it. So like as you're saying, like kind of forgot about it. And then like in November you go, we haven't heard about it yet.
I'm trying to think. Offhand, I can only think of one other Irish metal band getting funding now. I could be wrong, but I know 10 Ton Slug got it as well.
Yeah.
Was that for another video as well? Was it Hunger? What's the...
Hunting Ground.
Hunting Ground.
Okay.
It's been so long. Do you remember that? 10 Ton Slug, lads? They used to be around years ago, I think it was.
I think it was 10 Ton Snail, no?
Okay. But I think they got funding for that, did they?
I think they got funding for something like that, all right.
So fucking long ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
And Matt, like, what gave you the idea for it? Like, or where did you think, like, oh, Jesus, we could apply for funding for this album?
I've applied to the Arts Council for funding every year since like 2008. So,
no way.
I have a drawer in the other room here, just full of rejection slips types. Like regret to inform you.
They're just like, we have to give it to him. He will never stop.
I think the difference here was that the application, I think we just went on a grander scale. Like before, I never applied for let's do an album, let's get a proper producer like Aidan Cunningham. Like the album, we had everything, like every bit of evidence you could have going in. Quotes from Aidan, quotes from the places we were, everything we were putting money into, we had on paper in there in the proposal. Everything was being reasonably done. Like, realistically, the Arts Council aren't there to fund profit-making bands because they don't need the funding. So that was my logic behind it. It was like, well, we're not going to make the money, but give us the money, and anything we're doing from it is going to other professionals, so they can pay for it.
Massive loss for you. As well, I suppose, that Monolith Online, do you remember 2021? I think that was another good tick, because that was Arts Council funded, and showed that we'd gotten a small amount from that as well for doing it. And then obviously Bloodstock, I think, helped. But then, like, I remember that those few days in isolation, like Matt sent me, does this pie chart look okay? Is this a nice breakdown?
Yeah, they really have to make you jump through the hoops. Imagine it's 5 years ago since the guide was released, lads.
Jesus.
Don't tell us that.
Yeah, 5 years. Yeah.
I was only listening to it today, actually, like, because I was absolutely obsessed, especially with that song, The Guide. Yeah, Jesus, it hits hard. It's such a tune. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's not like the year after the boats, and then that was mad thing, because we were doing some, I won't do any spoilers, but like, we were just saying in practice that like 2019, that was one of our last gigs, and then sure we all know what happened early 2020. But the boat CP launch was one of the last ones we did for a long time.
Yeah, it's nuts. So we might just talk about there who's playing with you on the launch. Like, you're gluttons for punishment. Tombs again, like 3 fucking nights with Tombs. What's the last gig? Is Limerick the last gig?
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to be burnt out. They're going to be fucked.
Going to be crisps by the time I see you.
Yeah. I don't think he gets sense, like. But anyway, so Tombs are with you for the whole 3 nights, which I think is a bad idea. Because you're both as bad as each other, in my opinion, for drinking and fucking just mayhem.
Debauchery,
yeah. So Belfast is 23rd with Axe Catcher. That is a class lineup with Tombs and yourselves.
Sadly.
Yeah, they're fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
shout out to Evan for converting me.
Yeah, they're one of the best bands in Ireland, and
another 3-piece.
Another 3-piece. Actually, it's 3 pieces. Yeah. I didn't even realize that.
There you go.
Axe Catcher are on another level. They're brilliant. I saw them supporting Worn Out. I know minus 10,000 hours were supposed to be playing, but they had to pull out for COVID reasons, I think. I can't remember who filled in, but when I saw Axe Catcher, my mind was blown.
Yeah, and
that's the same tour I saw him as well, Matt.
Yeah. I completely missed their album as well. I think it was just, all fuzzy brains during the lockdown times. Yeah. And like, I went listening to it straight after. I was like, this is fucking amazing. And I also recorded with Aidan too.
Yeah.
So that was another reason I go, this guy sounds like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So there's the 24th then, which is Dublin, and that's Tombs, obviously. And then Limerick, the 25th, Tombs and Black Shuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no Cork date there, but
get the jig in there, Richie.
You might want to get on to some of the promoters down there, Richie.
Anyway, but it's going to be a wild 3 nights. And how much of the new album are you going to be playing?
It's mostly
good chunk,
new album,
yeah. We have done a very stupid thing in that we have slightly different set lists. The
Dublin gig, especially because Thomas House is a small venue. They only allow 2 bands on a night now because there's just not enough room for enough gear and stuff, and the hefts. Yeah, so that's going to be an hour-long set. So we're going to pull out a few longer ones, maybe.
Yeah.
Nice.
Start training.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, let's get into it. Track 1, Breath, which is a translation for birth. Lovely intro, nice acoustic piece of work. Steve, do you take the credit for that?
That was originally, it was Brett, and the second song was all one song. But when we were discussing it, like, one of our favorite songs, it's Still Life. What's the first song in Still Life called? The More, isn't it?
Oh, Opiate.
Yeah. Opad, yeah. And like, I do love it, but sometimes I'm not in the mood for a 2.5 minute build up to the riffs. So we just decided to break it out, and it kind of worked as a whole for the album as well.
Yeah.
And it's also because Matt's secretly been, well, not secretly, tells us all the time how good at Irish he is and been relearning it. But Brett, it's got like some nice other meanings. It also means burden. It means judgment.
Oh, okay.
It's just like one of those multiple, I suppose.
And here I was thinking birth, and the last song was death.
Well, that is it. Yeah, Brett, good boss, from start to finish, or from the cradle to the grave.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so we're gonna just give this a listen to there. But yeah, it sets up the next track. These seas are deep, doesn't it, Daniel?
Yeah,
Perfectly.
it's class. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like a breath of fresh air. A question I did have, I know I'm always a stickler for lyrics. Is it a concept album, or it's a kind of a concept album, but kind of not really?
It's half a concept album and half autobiographical, I guess, because I can't write lyrics without making them about myself. I just I lack the ability. But yeah, because I think Steve has a concept for the musical side of it, and completely independently of that, I have a concept for the lyrical side, and they're related but not the same, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But
okay,
that's class.
It's lyrically, it's sort of following an alternate sort of history of Ireland, where when we were invaded and colonized, in fighting back, we actually called upon the ancient forces of the land and destroyed the entire world. And the track is following us walking across a ruined Irish landscape. But then each track has its own separate sort of connection to my life over the past year.
Wow, brilliantly explained.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Now, Daniel, is this like, I want you just maybe to flag maybe two or three of your favorite songs on the album. This surely is one of them, is it?
Yeah, this one stood out. I'd probably be here like for the day if I was this. I'd probably list them all out actually eventually, because I like wrote. It's all blurring out now, but I wrote like a review, but I accidentally tore it out to write something else, and I forgot that was on it, and I crumpled it up and threw it in the bin. So it's actually then I read it back, and I was like, "This is terrible review." It just goes maiden vibes, Matt a break, intro class, lovely piano. Like
that's only for DCs or deep, is it?
No, that's for a few different songs, but I have like the song number, and then I have the song name. So yeah, this one definitely stood out. But I have to say, I think Steadfast as the single was a great choice, but this could be a contender for another one.
Yeah,
perhaps.
And to hear it live, sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like the first 3 minutes is like suffocating sludge as only he can do it. And then, anyway, look, I'm going to play a clip off it. As I said, I'm just limited to what I can choose. So for a lot of these, I just, again, being selfish, picked them out for myself and didn't care who else gives a shit about them. But that's just
it's your show.
My show. Okay, so this is These Seas Are Deep. That's great. And again, the maturity in the writing of this, there's different, I suppose, levels of heft, and then there's just, again, crafting the nice breaks, so it breaks up sometimes the monotony of sludge. And like, this is a great example of ye as a band progressing. I'll throw it out to you there. We'll say we put Daragh on the spot. He's having a comfortable ride at the moment, actually. Very fucking comfortable ride. Okay, taking this role on as a new drummer, and maybe talk to us again about maybe your input into some of the tracks on this, Daragh.
Yeah, it was really great writing the drums for the album. It's probably the most difficult album I've ever done in my entire life musically. Yeah. Like, I think
that's saying something now, like a Svet.
Yeah, it really was
extraordinary
for various reasons. But I think Seeds was the first track we worked on.
It would have been
I'm pretty sure Seeds is the first one. Excuse me. I remember when we first started practicing together, and then they were like, "Well, do you want to keep going? Like, we have a bunch of songs." I'm like, "Absolutely." So then we kind of kept going on, and I think we wrote the whole album in about 2 months. So it was really, really intensive. A lot of songs. I think each week we were doing about maybe 2 songs.
Yeah, so it's kind of glossed over that. Like, when we first asked Daragh, it's because we had a string of gigs lined up in November, December 2021. And we're like, "Oh, look, we need do you want to join us?" And he's like, "Yeah," they all got cancelled. Then we got the Arts Council thing. It's like, "Well, do you want to stay with us and write the album?" And then Matt got COVID. So we only started practicing the album in February. And then we were in the studio in April.
Yeah, so that was the intensive period.
Ridiculous when you think of it like that.
We were still doing a lot of work in the background, though, because I think that December, as soon as the funding was announced, we obviously had to get in touch with Aidan and try and pencil in a slot that we could work with. I hadn't gotten COVID yet, so I was like, "Yeah, the earlier the better," because we want to, get working. So we went with the April period. That was the Easter break, wasn't it?
Easter break, yeah.
So we took that. Didn't realize it was Easter break when it came to trying to get time off work and so on. But so in the background, doing a lot of like writing, arranging, sketching out the songs on computers and emailing back and forth and WhatsApping, and then pre-production was definitely the most intense pre-production we've done before, because I think we did 3 individual sessions, each one of like lasting half a week, because we changed rehearsal studio during that as well, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
And yeah, I know a lot of things. I think the biggest thing that has defined the last couple of years for us as a band is the amount of changes that have happened in all of our lives. And we can go into more detail on that later. But when I got COVID, I did not expect to be as sick as I was. And I was so worried I wouldn't be able to do vocals on the album, because I couldn't even walk for 5 minutes immediately after. So I mean, thankfully, I think I'm better now. I'm just unfit, but like there was a long recovery process. I mean, I was still feeling it that's why I think one of the reasons Siege Limerick was one of the best gigs we played, was because that was the first gig we played that I fully felt like I'd recovered. So it took that long. Which is why, and again, back to spreadsheets, but I spreadsheeted out all the vocals depending on their intensity for the album, so that I knew how to pattern it in between all of the things in order
Jesus Christ.
Incredible.
On the last 3 days, Matt wouldn't talk in between vocal things.
Yeah.
It was very frustrating.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
He's like proper diva.
Wow.
My God, that's incredible. So Daragh has kind of conveniently fucking just stopped again there. I thought we'd have a flow there, I was these seas are deep, Daragh, approaching that.
Yes, C was a really good one, like nice and slow and heavy, and kind of a lot of weight in the song. And then the second riff comes in, C was like kind of triumphant, kind of upbeat kind of stuff. And then I really love that song. That, and probably Steadfast, and maybe Peric, probably my favorite tracks.
Okay, nice.
But that's a really good one as well.
Okay, so Steadfast, Leviathan. Danielle, maybe just talk to us about the first time you heard it and your reaction.
first time I heard it was actually on a plane. I was going to Bucharest.
Okay.
Yeah. I was kicking myself actually because, you know, Bucharest has the heaviest structure in the world. And I went to see it a day too late because I was like, I should take a photo of that. I was like, this is the heaviest structure in the world, but it's still not as heavy as Steadfast Leviathan.
Nice.
I was like, oh, kicking myself.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's absolute heavy. And actually, I'd seen the title, like, you know, you'd released the title of it before the song. And I just said to Pete, I was like, I know I'm going to love this. Like, this is, yeah, it's what I wanted from a new Grey Stag and song, and I think it was a brilliant single for you to pick.
Yeah.
Which also, because it was the lead single, and then listening to the album, it actually surprised me even more listening to the album that you've got the softer side to it, which was a really nice surprise as well. Like, so, yeah, Steadfast. It'll be great to hear that in Limerick on 25th. Looking forward to that. If you're still alive on that stage.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to play a clip off it, and Matt, maybe you might just talk us through some of the lyrics in relation to the song. Okay. Worlds have collapsed to fucking riffs like that. I don't know a heavier riff at the moment than that. That is just fucking insane. That's
definitely you'll be a contender, I think, for single of the year at the end.
Thank you.
And you know what? They're Irish as well, but don't say a thing, you know. Others won't get offended. Matt, talk to us about the lyrics to this.
So, in terms of the concept, like these seas are deep is us crawling out of the seas onto a ruined Irish shore, and Steadfast is the point at which we're given a purpose. That's where the rest of the album's lyrics sort of come from. Is this idea that there's something bigger than us here. That's the Leviathan. That's driving us towards the mountain, I guess. And in terms of the actual real life application to me, it came from a time when I was sort of, well, not that I don't now, but feeling like the world around me is picking me up and sort of driving me on a force that I can't feel like I really control, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but at the time it was something where I felt viscerally affected by events around me that I couldn't have any control over. So,
because remember the last time I interviewed G, it was in Fred's on the stage, and
that long ago.
Yeah, that's right. And one thing that I wouldn't say it's stressing you out, but it was a frustration to you in one way, and that's the way I picked it up, is the fact that you are more or less tied to the microphone, especially with your vocal delivery. Now, I don't think that has improved. In fact, I'd say it's actually going to be a bigger challenge now with these songs, because your vocal performance throughout this album is nothing short of jaw-dropping, being truthful. And it's incredible the way you have developed. I suppose there's a range there that you're comfortable with, but I think you've actually even pushed that limit a bit further. I don't know how you do it, but I mean, what were your struggles like that for the last 2 gigs he played, which was Dara's fundraiser and the Siege. Because I mean, again, like trying to get actual breaths in between those deliveries, fucking hell, like.
Well, yeah, we actually we took that into account with some of the writing. Steve very graciously wrote me an instrumental song to stick in the middle of the set.
Yeah.
But I think as well, I've been more conscious of it on this album with changing the vocal styles or changing the phrasing to give that space for breath here and there.
Yeah.
There's very little. I'd say on like challenging wise, Pyrrhic is the toughest one because that's pushing me into a different key to where I'm normally at. But for the most part, the way I've changed the techniques that I'm using between riffs and so on is giving me the break that I need between doing things, so I'm not feeling worn out. Because there was a point coming up to that time we would have been talking where I was getting genuinely worried that I wouldn't be able to keep doing the vocals the whole time. So thankfully now we've a whole lot more material that I can work that around, you know.
Would you agree with that, Daniel? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I actually wrote Matt a break for the 4th song, because I remember hearing that. I remember saying tied to the mic and like not getting a lot of breaths in, which is kind of important. But what I will say though is I think in this type of music, it can be like vocals can sound very the same. It's kind of hard to, but I can listen to a song and I know straight away that's Matt singing. Yeah. Like there's a distinct growl in there that's very much yours, which is great, especially in this kind of sludgy environment that we have at the moment. But yeah, I think that really kind of adds another layer to your sound.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Excellent stuff. So that brings us nicely into the instrumental. Nice dovetail there, lads. Trespasser. Yeah. Let's give this a listen. Have your influence changed much over the years, Steve, musically wise?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
One of the biggest, well, obviously, this is actually a kind of old riff that we just didn't know what to do with it until Daragh put those groovy drums around it, which really changed the feeling of it.
My favourite ones to play live.
It's really just you bop to it.
Bouncy, yeah.
But definitely musically, what I've gotten really into in the last few years is trad music, especially bands.
And you were just listening to Steve there from Great Stag.
Have you heard of Lankum? They'd be like the main one. Yeah,
I can cope with them just about.
That big drone that they have and stuff like that, and the darkness of some of the old lyrics really inspired me. As Matt said before, that like he's got his concept. When I was arranging like the track list and the music of the album, it was loosely based on 800 years of colonization, and like the song titles and the feeling of the tracks, I tried to, I suppose, impart that. A lot of, adversary stuff, which, comes part of songs, failing, great loss, but a bit of hope in there.
Yeah.
And the cyclical nature of it.
It's interesting you did bring up the trad kind of side of it, because I always like to think Tin Lizzy had that flavour of trad running through it, and the fact that you did a cover of Emerald, and there is Steve sections there of Tin Lizzy. Now, again, are you even conscious of that? Is it just flowing through your fingers? You're not even thinking too much. But I like the way you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not like I'm not going to be, not going to be whipping out a mandolin or singing on Raglan Road or anything like that. Like it's that little bit of, I suppose, more melody that you'd put in. Like I suppose it's the maturity as well, having the confidence to put more melody in there rather than just riffing on the lower strings.
Yeah,
Well,
and I think that. Sorry, Richie.
No.
I think this song really highlights that, actually, Killing Monster, that we're going into now, because now that you said Lizzy, Richie, that makes more sense, because I thought kind of I was hearing Maiden kind of melodic in there, and I was like, Richie's going to kill me for writing Maiden down here.
No.
I thought that, but I think it's actually more akin to kind of Lizzy. Yeah.
Okay, let's play this. It's a great track, actually. Killing Monsters.
No use stumbling in the dirt, finding myself unmade in the ancient world. Let my fading light face me when I become.
New sounding grey Stag there, lads.
Yeah. I was just thinking you would never have heard that on like the guide or the bolts. Like that
one was tough to come together. That was the toughest ones. Yeah, some of the riffs. See, if it comes up with a riff, and you're there playing, I'm like, oh, that's cool, and then there's a little handbrake in, and I'm like, oh, fuck, what am I supposed to do there? And then it clicks, and I'm like, oh, I get it out, and then it's very satisfying. If that makes sense. Speaking drumish.
It doesn't help because Matt's there like, and I say, I think it's a 3/4 with a 7/8 at the end with a little accent. You go a bit of Allegro, and I'm like, no, but we get there in the end.
And you translate her.
Yeah, that's the way they work. Yeah. And you play a lot with feedback in the end of 2 or 3 tracks as well, Steve. Does that do you think, add to the mood of the album as such, or?
Yeah, I would like bands who do that, and we brought all our pedals, and Aidan was very open to us. Just like at some point we plugged in like all the pedals, and we have got some that have oscillators in them that just kind of make that like warbly sound, and me or Matt, I'd usually play something, and Matt would just mess them around, try to get that sweeping kind of sound. Yeah. And it's more that so they link maybe a bit better and flow into each other. Bit of dread is also good.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, the longer the note.
Yeah, the more dread.
The more dread, yeah. Track 6 is The Adversary. That's a song that we're all familiar with. Who wants to take this one?
I suppose I'll go. I haven't said much.
Yeah.
Sitting in the corner. Yeah, the adversary, Chadversary, we call it. It was already a single, and then we decided to record it again. I don't know, just for consistency for the album, and pretty much stuck more or less to the drums that were there already. Changed a couple little accents and phrases here or there, but it's still probably about 60-70% opposed to the single version that came out already. What was it, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. Yeah, it was just before Bloodstock we released that.
Before or just after?
Jesus, I thought it was only last year.
No, he did. I think he released it before Bloodstock.
Yeah, it might be before.
Jesus, that long ago.
One thing I completely forgot about earlier, but we went and recorded The Adversary and we got Aidan Cunningham to mix and master that. And that was expressly for the purpose of putting in the application for the Arts Council. That was the proof of concept.
Yeah.
To show what we could do with an adequate budget. So at the time, we were wondering whether that was a good idea, but I think it definitely played out.
Yeah.
Cool.
But on the drums that Daragh changed up, I do love like the little. You just seem to get bored so easily in a good way, where you just play it and then know where to go, and just do like that little.
Having zero patience is actually surprisingly good for being a drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's give this a blast. My opinion at this stage, halfway through the album, apart from, you know, the obvious leap in progression in the songwriting as well, is just the absolute fucking wonderful job Aidan Cunningham did with it.
Sounds unbelievable.
Yeah.
It does,
Yeah,
and you're just going, holy shit, I'm halfway through and it sounds so fucking good. Like, great call, lads, getting him on board.
Oh, absolutely. Far better than we have any business sounding.
Yeah. It just because of the funding that we got, we were able to like do it like a proper band where, you know, you took 2 weeks off and just was in the studio all the time doing it. But like it gave us the time we spent a whole day doing setting the drums up and getting a sound, another day doing the amps together. And then like we had 2 days at the end to add in all the little bits and flourishes that just pump it up a little bit.
I think actually the last song, Mountains, it wasn't, I just remember this now, it wasn't finalized when we were doing the drums for it because we were kind of delayed a bit doing the pre-production because just the small amount of time that we had. So it wasn't 100% finished when we were going to do the drums. I think like the last kind of outro section, we tried like one or two things and one worked better than the other one, and then we kind of went with that. But that was the first time ever kind of writing, quote unquote, to like in the studio. So that was really that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And would you say that Daragh, that working with Aidan, did you work with Aidan before?
I have not, no.
Okay.
Like he was really good in a way that he kind of kicks your ass a little bit. Like I go and do a take, I'm like, that was pretty good, and he was like, that wasn't very good. I was like, all right, I'm not going to contest it. Like if you know you're a sound guy, so you know if you do a take and like I think it was okay, and then he's like, no, you can do that again, and then go and do a few more takes. I'm like, yeah, no, you're right. That was definitely a lot better than the first one.
Yeah. I think that's what he's there for. He has that ear. Like he knows, and it's a big trust thing then, because you've so much work to do in the studio as a musician, that if you can take away the stress of having to tell whether what you've just played is good enough, then all you have to deal with is actually performing and playing well. And he very quickly put us in that situation, because I know that, I mean, he was very on all of us with that wasn't album ready. That was the big the phrase I heard something, that wasn't album ready. It's good. It's not album good.
Yeah.
Go again.
Yeah.
And then you knew that when you got it and he was happy, that you definitely got it. And he brought something out of all of us. I don't think we thought we had in us. If you know,
Steve, would you agree with that? Yeah.
No, definitely, yeah. And Daragh definitely does have the hardest job because we don't play to a click in the studio. So he's got to get it each take like perfect because you can't just intersperse little bits. But yeah, 100%. Like just and the knowledge that you get from him as also being a good guitarist and like being from being in Murdoch and the gear that he has as well is just really really good.
Yeah, I think for people that don't know, I'm nearly sure is he still spending 6 months over in America and 6 months in Ireland, or
he was. I think I don't know if he got a bit messed up, obviously during the lockdown, but as far as I know, I think so.
Yeah. So like you only have a certain window. Bands only have Irish bands anyway have only a certain window with Aiden per year, like as in a 5 or 6 month window. Now it could have changed, but from what I can remember anyway, talking to the man.
Or one bit that I just remember because he played the end of the adversary, that bit where it just bulks up a bit. We brought this tiny little battery powered amp and sounds absolutely crap. And he has this really crap pedal and we played the guitar through that, but it just fills this little void that the bass and guitar doesn't. When you play it together, it just kind of lifts everything up and he's just full of little sonic like nuggets of gold like that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, track 7 is Make Their Victory Pyrrhic, is it? Pyrrhic. I had to look that up. Too great a cost to have been worthwhile for the victor. Yeah. So, Daniel, you can talk us through this when I play the clip. Here we go.
This will
What was your reaction when you heard that? Again, different Stag?
Yeah, exactly. That's the one you're singing in a different key, Matt, is it? Yeah. It definitely sounds like it. It sounds like it's a challenge, like for you, like something interesting, like, you know. And again, it's kind of bringing that Thin Lizzy kind of maiden vibes.
Oh, the middle section, definitely.
Yeah. There's something, it really relates to the whole theme that you have going. It kind of feels very Celtic almost. There's definitely that kind of a vibe in there. But yeah, I definitely was struck by the vocals. It's something different, and it's great to throw that in. And I think that live will be. You didn't play that at the Siege, did you? Yeah. So that one, I'm really looking forward to hearing it live. But
I don't know if we can though. I don't know if we're that good. That's a toughie. That's
I was going to ask, can you not remember, Danielle?
I remember everything from the Siege.
Yeah, she would have deflected to me, and I would have been going, "Oh, no, not really."
But
that was a very fun one, and I suppose musically tried to make it match that, as Richie said, like a great cost to the victor, but you still lose. So like the ending riff is the same as the start, but it's. I remember just saying to Daragh, like, make it janky. And then at the end, he starts doing a few blasts and stuff just to, to make it kind of fall apart as you're losing.
I was a bit worried. It's like, is it too much? Is it too weird for the Stag? Are people not going to like it? And they kept reassuring me. He's like, no, this is the direction I want to go. I'm like, fair enough. And tried to put in some blast beats. So that was a tough one to record.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a great to have a track like that in there. Again, that will throw off a lot of fans and kind of make them go, wow, this is actually different. And because I think the way you have it spaced out as well is very interesting.
Yeah. It's a good flow to it. Like,
there's a great flow to it, and you're introducing new stuff to avid fans like us that are going, oh, making us sit back. But
it's fresh. Like,
yeah, and again, it's just the whole balance of the album is really, really good. I don't know, had you to work on that, or did the songs just dictate that? Did that flow come naturally? Was there maybe 2 or 3 songs there that you kind of stressed over, kind of going, will this work? Or
Definitely, like, I know it's weird how I write, because I just kind of, I can't sit down and just write riffs. They just appear in my head and then I go do it. Or I have lots of cans and I write it and I send Matt a record and he goes, Steve, this is terrible.
Steve's shouting into a microphone.
But like some of the, once we had like, I think maybe about 6 or 7 of them together, they started to take shape of where they were going.
Okay.
But then we definitely, like, there were some where it's like, we need a heavier one here. We need something light here because we want to break it up. We want to fit it into the story. Like some of them were titles before they were even songs, it was weird doing, but we thought, the fact it's an album, it gives you more room to play with those ones that, like, you won't play live probably, like, you know, the opener or the next one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
You're a big titles guy. You did all the titles, right?
And big titles, yeah. He did ask you. I usually don't mind you changing titles. He's never asked except for Make Your Victory Beer. He goes, no, that actually has to stay the same. One time he's asked. But yeah, I just have a big list of like song titles. What is cool? It's called on my Google Docs. And anytime I read or hear something go, it's like, oh, that'd make a cool song title, put it in. And then sometimes the title comes first and I write a riff to it. Or I write a riff and goes, oh, that sounds like this title.
Okay.
That's usually how it comes together.
Interesting.
We get the best out of them, don't we, Daniel?
We do, yeah.
Really important
We'll go into the studio We'll go into the studio next time, will we?
Okay, so this is the second instrumental in the album, and we'll give this No Stranger to Pain. I'm just wondering as well, lads, have we missed Tom Woodlock's appearance on the album? And
No.
Dylan's as well, Dylan Scully of Displace Hell. And
Dylan's contribution was very thankfully lending me a bass amp and cabinet to use. Did you give me the cabinet? No, it's just the amp. To use for the studio, because I have my own, which I knew wouldn't be up to scratch, and I had one prepared to rent, and that fell through at the last minute.
Okay.
So I think after the first day in the studio, I drove all around the country getting what has got to be the heaviest amp head I have ever picked up in my life. So that's Dylan Scully's contribution, and thank you very much to him for it. Yeah.
And Tom's appearance is coming up, is it?
Yeah, we'll point that out, I think, when it comes up. It's in Mountains, this Mountain Moves.
Oh, okay. And Pancho made an appearance as well, Danielle, but nobody noticed. Steve went out for a piss, and then Pancho came in and played, and nobody noticed Pancho played Steve's part. Is that true?
Yeah.
I'm staying with that. And thank you, actually, because Howard will be watched. Thank you, Howard, for rounding up the two of them in the siege and pushing the two of them together so I could get photographic evidence that they're not the one person.
I thought that was very funny. Yeah. I think the best thing about that was when my partner, who has known Steve for many years, was talking to Pancho and got very angry at him for giving her the cold shoulder. So,
and it was Kieran from Rosa Naturalist did the exact same thing.
That's so funny.
I'm just waiting for Pancho to cut his hair now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, is that where you cut your hair, Steve?
Hey, thanks for the tip anyway, just in case he's down at the siege, Matt.
Oh my God.
Okay, next track is another fantastic song, Sunder. I love this track.
Yeah.
Okay. See the way there? I got 3 versions of Stag in that one spot. Fucking brilliant. Love that, lads. Absolutely love it. Danielle, can you remember this live?
Yeah.
You know what? I can actually remember singing the lyrics back to Matt in this and the siege, and I had no clue the lyrics, like, but I fucking sang it.
It's I don't know if that's a good sign or.
It's a fantastic track, lads. Who wants to take that one?
I'll just say that that's my favorite track on the album, and I think I can't remember when along the lines it was. It was definitely one I was worried about putting together, but Dara's addition to that on the drums really makes that song completely sing. Because I think a lot of that came together. It wasn't formed the way it is until Daragh was there. I don't think that middle section was there.
That was an early one, I think, as well. Might have been second.
Was it that early? Yeah,
I think it was.
All I know is one of the last things we did before we went to the studio was add that snare hit.
Oh, that's great.
And I think it's the best snare hit on the album.
Yeah.
I really wanted to kind of channel Dave Lombardo on that one. I was listening to a lot of Slayer at the time, and I think it kind of.
You can hear the double bass in that there.
The little drum break in the middle of it. I think as a placeholder, we were using the Phil Collins thing. He was like, "Oh, there has to be like a little drum break kind of thing." And before I kind of thought of anything, I was like, so, yeah.
She's an easy lover. And there's an evil riff there that I just literally faded out there again, Steve. I mean, Christ, like, you know, there's some parts of songs that you try and anticipate what a guitarist would do, and I certainly was anticipating that when I heard that track first, and then the fact that you did it then, I was just going, fuck yes, that's just so good. Like, and the feedback again at the end leads in nicely.
Cheers. Yeah, like as Daragh mentioned before, I like riffs that you don't kind of expect, or it changes like that when it changes. Well, the first time we play it, changes each ending and then changes again. And it's just nice to keep you on your toes, I think. And just a little U-turn and something to surprise listeners.
Always some dread.
Yeah.
That gives me a bit of PTSD. Because I remember recording that riff, technically, definitely the most difficult riff, for me anyway. The diddle 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 diddle. Nailed it the first time. Oh, it was so tight, absolutely perfect. Got to recording the guitars and realized I played 2 of the notes in the reverse order. Had to track the whole thing again.
He was so sad looking.
My fingers were, because they'd already resigned. I tracked all the bass. So my fingers were like, okay, cool, we're off. And
We're back in.
and I remember, like, it was like I'd drunk a bottle of wine. Like, my fingers were like, no, like, what are you doing? We're not, this isn't what we play anymore. We, like, you know, we twiddle our thumbs and don't speak between vocal takes. But, yeah, no, that's, we got there in the end. Jesus, I nearly cried.
Brilliant.
And no clicks. You can't just drop in for those 2 notes.
Okay, so track 10 is Dismount and Moves. And I want to thank Steve for giving me a preview of this track. And I just went, holy shit, this is absolutely sensational. And my opinion hasn't changed. And in fact, I think it's even got better as I listen to it more. So this is it.
It's just one-sided. I can't see your face again. I might be the only one out here. I still hold your withered hand. I feel a crippling shame. I have felt the years go by. Voiceless words force me to my knees. I make everything my own, but I'm still here.
Yeah, that's fantastic, lads. I think, in my own opinion, this is Grey Stag's love song in relation to the lyrics. It's
Feels very emotional.
It is, and
Yeah.
the lyrics are fucking incredible as well. So, Matt, maybe you just take that, and then we talk about the rest of the song, just about the lyrics.
Yeah, the lyrics for that were actually mostly rewritten very shortly before the studio. My grandmother passed away 3 or 4 days before we went in.
Okay.
And she would have been very important musically to me. When I was 5 or 6, she identified that I had a talent for playing music. I played her piano, and her piano is now downstairs in my house. And yeah, she sent me off. She paid for me to do piano lessons for the next 5 or 6 years after that, before I picked up the guitar and then subsequently the bass. And so yeah, it was very. She'd taken a turn and become quite sick this Sunday, and passed away on the Wednesday, about 10 minutes after I went up to see her the last time. And it was very emotional for me, but I started writing those lyrics when she got sick, and I kind of knew what way it was going.
Okay.
So that song is about lyrically, it takes a turn from the concept because of the situation, and it's very much dealing with my relationship with her. That's why the piano that I'm playing on, No Stranger to Pain, is not her piano, because that was horribly out of tune. But I like to think that, like, when I wrote the piano for that, which is just playing along to your guitar, I did 2 or 3 takes, and that was the one I liked.
Okay.
that was originally supposed to be my ode to her, and then when she got sick and passed away, that's when the lyrics for Mountain came in. And just to note as well, she was 107. She was about going to be 108.
Wow,
that's incredible.
In June of that year. So anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
so that's why she, and Steve put the dedication on the album. I didn't even notice it because I'm colorblind and I couldn't read it. So.
Oh no.
So that was
Dara's dad as well.
Yeah.
It's dedicated.
Yeah, I think the album is kind of retroactively kind of there's a lot about loss. Kind of looking back at it, even though it might not have kind of been put in lyrically at the time, but with Matt's nan and my dad, so it's very, very important.
That's a good way to mark it, lads. Mark that in time, and like to have it on an album as good as this. It's a real testament to the people that you love, really and truly. Steve, this mountain moves. There's so much in it. Structurally, how hard was it putting it together?
For me, simple, because like the way it works is I just write a string of riffs and then it's all over to Matt. So, like we work really well that way because I'm so tunnel visioned. Once I write something a certain way, it's like that's the way it is in my head. I can't do anything else about it. So like I'd maybe do 80-90% of the writing. Matt would do like 90% of the arrangement, like move all the riffs around, maybe add in some bridges and stuff as needs to connect it together. And I don't need to worry about it, which is a great way to work because I was never able to write like music by myself, but having Matt there and being able to bounce stuff off him is just so much better.
Yeah. Do you want to jump in there, Daniel, for that song?
Yeah, like I suppose I just really listening to it felt the kind of emotion off of it. And again, it's another one of those ones that you wouldn't have heard on previous Stag records, so it's just great to see the progression and again matching the flow of the album itself. But you can definitely feel throughout the album there's I think you said earlier, it kind of deals with loss but also the hope there as well, which is fantastic. Like it's weird me saying this because I never thought I'd say this about a Stag album, but there's something beautiful about it. So it's fantastic, and again, it's that maturity coming into it, and it's a credit to you, really.
It is. Who did the singing? Actually, is that you, Steve?
No, it's not.
Matt as well.
Yeah.
Well, we did do some background vocals in it.
We have to mention that he made us do in Seeds and those gang vocals you hear in Eric. That's all of us.
Okay.
Yeah, so I remember like the first take of that before on the reverb on is just like drunken lads shouting outside a chip shop. There's a reason we're not main vocalists.
I forgot they're on Steadfast. Seas, Steadfast, and
I forgot about Steadfast. Yeah, they're in 3 songs. Yeah, we did background vocals for.
And Tom appears as well in this track.
So it's the very last riff or the second last riff, the last chorus that comes in. Yeah. That's Tom's moment to shine, where he provided us with a gong.
Pity wasn't a cowbell.
To me, the album would be nothing but cowbell.
Yeah.
But thankfully, it's not.
I messaged Tom. I knew if anyone had a gong, it would be Tom. And I said, "Look, do you have a gong that we could use?" And he goes, "Lads, do you have any idea?"
That's probably what he asked you.
Do you have any idea how hard it is to record a gong? I'll send you some samples I've already made. And we're like, oh, brilliant. So we're just picking out from what he'd previously recorded. And I think we've mixed in a few that, like, we wanted more gong, and Aidan was like, that's not album gong.
I think that was the big compromise Aidan made in the whole affair. Oh, gosh, yeah. Thanks to Gong Woodblock.
Okay, the last track is it Bass?
Boss.
Yes. Boss. Okay, Boss. Right. Let's hear it. wraps up the package perfectly. Matt, again, having the courage to sing that change.
Yeah. I don't have any major issues singing clean vocals. I don't think I have the most beautiful singing voice in the world. But generally speaking, live, it's always the concern is the monitoring, being able to hear that pitch, because especially after playing, half an hour of very heavy riffs, it can become hard to hear yourself. But I thought it needed that that vocal refrain, and the idea behind that lyrically. It's only 3 words, but or 4 words. But the idea there was that we're returning to the beginning of the album, because the whole time we were doing this, and there isn't any direct references to it, but I was always thinking about Sisyphus and pushing a rock up a hill only to push it up the hill again.
Yeah.
And that's very much where I was feeling in my life at the start of this project, where I didn't feel like I was progressing, but my stresses and everything were continuing to increase, and my responsibilities, but I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. So that was the idea of Sisyphus throughout the whole thing, and that was the second meaning of Brett being a burden, something to carry, is that rock that you're pushing up, and then you think you're at the end of boss, but you come right back to the beginning, and the whole cycle starts again. It's the sort of wrap up theme I had in mind.
Yeah.
And it's the same notes just played in a different structure. So I find like just when you have it on repeat, it actually loops very well back into Brett again.
Yes, it does.
And it was your idea as well when we were just deciding about, because the first song, These Seas Are Deep, had Brett before, and we divide it up and then name it Brett and Boss, and have that kind of cyclical nature as part of it as well.
Yeah.
And then it kind of ties into what we did with the video, pushing all the stuff up the mountain.
I was being literal when I said it.
Hidden meanings and everything.
Yes, Jesus, we got it all tonight, Danielle.
Yeah.
They crumbled under our intense questioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a phenomenal album, lads. It's a credit from both myself and Dan and Danielle. I would say it's fucking saved to the last minute, wouldn't I? Yeah, but it's a credit to ye, and like, you know what kind of fans we are. We deeply admire your work, and for this to land in our laps and to see the absolute progression, the musicianship, the delivery, the production, the artwork, everything is top class, and it's a credit to you, lads.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Yeah. Anything else to say, Danielle? See you at the front row, maybe?
Yeah, you'll see me there. I'll try and remember a bit more of this one. But best of luck now, lads, with the tour.
Yes.
I'm sure from listening to it, there's gonna be a lot of people with sore necks after it. Like, they're pure headbanging tunes on this, like, and even the ones that aren't as hefty, that they're still ones that you bop to, and that, like, so. That should be a warning before you go into a Grey Stag show.
Yes.
Watch your necks.
And this episode will be out the day of the launch, which is 17th of March. And again, just go over the dates: Belfast 23rd, Dublin 24th, and Limerick 25th, with support by those troublemakers Tombs for the 3 dates. And you've got Axe Catcher in Belfast and Black Shuck in Limerick. And once again, lads, thanks a million for sharing the album with us and coming on the show to talk about it. Much appreciated.
Yeah, have a guys. Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. You've been listening to Steve, Matt, and Daragh of Grey Stag. Call of the Mountain is the name of the album. And 17th of March, and support your local medicine.